peace. Almost every people in the history made the same mistake. They receive God's words and then they edit their own words and their own traditions. Today we're gonna talk about Hadith and Sunnah. The Jews added Mishnah and Gemara. The Christians added the Trinity, which it was created hundreds of years after Jesus. And the Muslims added Hadith and Sunnah, unauthorized sayings, and they were never part of God's religion. But God gave us a book that is perfect, complete, and fully detailed. He also warns that people would invent sayings and attach them to prophets. So my method is simple. They said this, but the Quran said this. Let's go through a few examples together. They said faith must be enforced, but the Quran said there shall be no compulsion in religion. They said use extreme penalties for theft, but the Quran said mark their hands, not cruelty or mutilation. They said adultery deserves a fatal penalty, but the Quran said 100 symbolic lashes. They said women are blocked from worshipping by their cycle, but the Quran says intimacy is spouse. Worship is not banned. They said women don't have to go to Friday prayer, but Quran said all the believers shall hasten to go there. They said raise the Prophet Muhammad above all others and claim special powers. Quran says we make no distinction among any of his messengers. They said there might be other intercessors, but the Quran says all intercession belongs to God alone. They said add the Prophet Muhammad's name into prayer or azan. Quran says observe the contact prayers to remember God. They said Jesus must return as a prophet, which would cancel finality because Quran says Muhammad was the final prophet. They said expand food bans and daily rules without proof, but Quran says only 4 foods are prohibited. They said gold, silk, music and art are forbidden by default, but the Quran says who prohibited the nice things God has created? Why do I trust Quran alone? Because God himself calls it is complete, perfect and fully detailed. Our final authority. He calls it best hadith, and he tells us that hadith that has been made up by people will mislead us. As a submitter to God alone, our motto is very clear. Quran, the whole Quran, nothing but the Quran.